Everyday life is complex because of its unpredictability and difficult circumstances. Circumstances often force us to be victims. But what if you learn to approach your life strategically, start managing your circumstances, and thus stop being a victim of them? To do this, you need to apply 7 magical little known principles of stalking, which Carlos Castaneda wrote about. Nobody talks about these 7 principles of stalking, but the simplicity underlying them is the key to their effectiveness and efficiency. With the help of Castaneda's 7 principles of stalking, you can regain control of any situation in particular and your life in general. Carlos Castaneda was one of the most mysterious authors of the 20th century. In his books, Castaneda wrote about Nagualism or magic, an ancient Indian knowledge possessed by initiates of Mesoamerica and the mystical Yucatan Peninsula. The word magic in its true meaning means undisclosed knowledge. This word should not cause fear or rejection. After all, for example, an ordinary flashlight for an aborigine will be magic because he does not know the laws due to which the flashlight begins to emit light. Magic in Castaneda's understanding is the knowledge of the close connection between man and the surrounding world. The knowledge described by Castaneda is based on the art of stalking. Stalking is the ability to track yourself and monitor your reactions. Magicians, or according to Castaneda, people of knowledge, are constantly engaged in stalking. By monitoring their reactions, people of knowledge become strategists who overcome the feeling of self-pity and cease to be a victim of circumstances. People of knowledge are true warriors who wage war against their own stupidity in order to gain true freedom. True freedom is the ability to control the course of things. Warriors control the course of things and their lives with the help of stalking and its 7 magical principles. These principles can be used by everyone. The first principle of stalking: the warrior oneself chooses the place for the battle. Warriors call battle interaction with the world and its forces, which lead them to true freedom. From a warrior's point of view, battle is about real interaction in the world, as well as a battle against one's own stupidity. A warrior controls the situation by understanding what needs to be done and how. One does not rely on luck, but interacts only with what one is ready for, where he or she is ready to interact. In the everyday life of an ordinary person, the first principle of stalking means that in every task, a person should spend more time on preparation than on the entire action. There is a rule: 95% of any task is preparation, 5% is execution and the action itself. Only a person well prepared for a specific situation will be able to understand what needs to be done in that specific situation. In other words, by working and studying something, understanding what to do and how to do it, and starting with a pre-prepared plan and strategy, a person can achieve success in what one works on. In this sense, ordinary luck takes on the meaning of painstaking work. Choose a business that interests you. Start studying and delving deeply into its basics. Understand as many nuances as possible and study examples. Collect your thoughts and act. You will see that success will come to you. Remember, luck comes to those who are prepared to meet it. The first principle of stalking teaches you to learn, work, and act effectively, changing the world for the better. The second principle of stalking: discard everything that is not necessary. The warrior is focused on the goal. Everything that helps oneself achieve one's goal is good for a warrior. Everything else is evil. The most important evil for a warrior is one's own stupidity, sense of self-importance, and self-pity. These 3 take energy from the warrior. They weaken oneself and in no way help a warrior achieve one's goal. The warrior gets rid of all 3. In ordinary life, the second principle of stalking can be applied in the financial sphere of a person. Loans and financial debts, unless it concerns a vital case, are mainly the consequences of a feeling of possessiveness that has developed thanks to advertising. A huge part of what is advertised is not what you need. A person often buys something that one really doesn't need. Therefore, one has no money and is in debt. In fact, there is enough money. They were just wasted on junk and useful things. If you give up unnecessary things, you can take a huge step towards financial well-being. The money you save can be spent on things that will develop you and ultimately result in your well-being. The second area for the second principle of stalking is time. If you don't have enough time for something you need, you spend it on what you don't need. Time is a fixed and a stable quantity that is known to everyone. There are 24 hours in a day. Set priorities, get rid of what you don't need. For example, empty hobbies and relationships, activities without a goal, and laziness. Free up time for what is truly important to you and what develops you. If you don't have enough time for a hobby and you have a favorite TV series, give up the series, get your time back. If you don't have time to take care of your health and have a favorite bar that you go to on Friday evenings, then give up the get-togethers and the bar. Time will appear. Manly P. Hall once said, if we are too busy to learn, live, and love, then we are too busy to benefit ourselves. The second principle of stalking teaches, among other things, financial literacy and respect for time. The third principle of stalking: a warrior must be ready to stand to the end here and now. For warriors, this principle means unwavering determination with which they begin and complete any task. But a warrior should not haphazardly enter into battle and respond to an accepted challenge. One must prepare for it by applying the first principle of stalking. For the average person, the third principle of stalking means taking responsibility for one's actions. Social and personal relationships are a great place where you can implement the third principle of stalking. In social relationships, you must sincerely fulfill your obligations, repay any material debt and damage, and treat someone else's property as your own. You must bring any task to the end. For example, if you are unable to work honestly, sincerely, and with dedication, then such work will drain you and make life worse, both for you and for those around you. In this case, you need to change your job. In personal relationships, you must keep your word to the person to whom you give it. Refuse deception and adultery. This will allow you to be around the people you need and focus on the things you need. If you cannot be sincere and honest with a specific person, then your determination to change your life and the lives of others for the better is not fully formed, and your aspirations lack sincerity and force. Lies and cowardice weaken you. Be an inspiration to everyone around you. To do this, you must be responsible for your actions, words, and thoughts, and stand for them to the end, here and now. This is what the third principle of stalking teaches. The fourth principle of stalking: relax, give up on yourself, and don't be afraid of anything. A warrior is never tense. One turns tension into undivided attention. This state is called alertness. When a warrior is alert, one knows that where one's force or understanding may not be enough, the world will help oneself if the warrior is attentive to the signs and prompts of the world. For an ordinary person, this principle means the ability to reconsider one's decision. We become ossified when we are completely confident in the correctness and finality of our position. The world will always be much deeper, more complex, and more interesting than we can think about it. Therefore, sometimes you need to reconsider your attitude towards the world. And then the situation, which was insoluble, will become clear and will reveal its facets that you have not seen before. You will find a solution if you are not a snob and a self-confident conservative. Remember that the world is a river, not a swamp. Everything in it flows and changes. Change too, along with everything else. The inability to reconsider your views creates tension. Tension weakens you and makes you inattentive. When you are not careful, you make mistakes and get nothing done. Know how to stop and calm down. Then you will see that many walls can be bypassed and not broken. The fourth principle of stalking does not say that you should have doubts. Socrates said that doubt is a disease of the mind. The fourth principle teaches you not to doubt, but to be able to develop and weigh any situation. Remember that the world is full of force. You are part of this world. Therefore, you are full of force for your informed decisions. The fifth principle of stalking. Faced with the unexpected and incomprehensible and not knowing what to do with it, the warrior retreats for a while, allowing one's thoughts to wander aimlessly. This magical principle of stalking follows from the fourth one. The warrior understands that the world is a vast and unsolved mystery. The world is much greater than a warrior's understanding. Therefore, when a warrior does not understand something, one takes a step back and lets things flow for a while. One does this because the warrior trusts the world and that the world has the best possible outcome for the warrior. In order to see this, the warrior steps away from the case for some time. Returning, the warrior sees something one had not seen before. For the average person, the fifth principle of stalking means the ability to remain calm in any situation. When solving a question, we may either be not ready to find the answer, or we may be too carried away by the usual course of our thinking, which is not able to lead us to the desired answer to the question. When you are faced with something incomprehensible and unknown, give yourself time. Do not make rash decisions, especially when you are controlled by emotions, especially anger. Remember that it can take you decades to undo the consequences of a moment's actions done in anger. Therefore, distance yourself from anger. If you don't know what to do with a situation, move on to something else. Research things that are not related to your question. Dedicate yourself completely to studying these things. For example, switch to a hobby and you will be distracted, improve your health, regain your energy, and be able to look at an unresolved situation from the outside. This approach will lead you to the desired solution. Remember that having a hobby is the key to constructive and creative activity in any field. The fifth principle of stalking teaches you to remain calm, be confident, and know that the solution to the situation is right at your fingertips. It just takes time to discern this solution. The sixth principle of stalking. The warrior compresses time. Even moments count. Castaneda wrote that the difference between a warrior and an ordinary person is that a warrior remembers that one's earthly path is finite. Therefore, one spends every moment of one's life starting from the fact that it may be one's last. For this reason, the warrior is always effective and every battle is fought with such care and precision as if it were the last battle of the warrior on this earth. For the average person, the sixth principle of stalking primarily means a call to develop determination and sincerity. Each person must be sincere about what they are dealing with. There is a rule: do the best you can, where you are, with what you have. This rule reflects the essence of the sixth principle of stalking. Only by interacting with full dedication with what we are involved in and sincerely striving to achieve perfection in this matter do we not lose a single second of our lives. We use every moment with full efficiency and with all the reserve of force available to us. After all, life is too short to waste its precious moments on lies and pretense. When a person does the best one can in what one does, this person lives a full and fulfilling life. In old age, such a person does not feel regret that life has flown by like one day. Where there is sincerity, honesty, and a desire to develop, life flows like a stream full of feelings and depth of sensations. The sixth principle of stalking teaches us to sincerely delve into what we are doing and treat it honestly and without pretense or hypocrisy. The seventh principle of stalking: watch everything from behind the scenes. This is the most complex principle of stalking. It requires the ability to apply all the other 6 ones. The seventh principle of stalking was used by the most skilled warriors who interacted with the world and remained secret. They never put themselves forward or on display. Being the center of power of a group of other warriors, the masters remained incognito, so no one could ever understand who the master really is. In cases where there was some kind of threat from the world, the master always remained on the sidelines, managing the process as if from behind the scenes. In this way, the warriors protected their master and with oneself one's skill, and took the blow if necessary, For an ordinary person, the seventh principle means that you need to learn to hide your innermost feelings from people, not strive to be visible, and not feel the desire to always play the very first roles. It's no secret that the world often presents challenges that we sometimes cannot immediately cope with. Each person should have an inner secret space that is accessible only to him or her alone. Do not forget that it is not you who interact with the outside world, but your personality. Everyone sees this personality and everyone associates it with you. Every person needs to understand that personality is just a set of images and habits by which others define one. These are some cliches that pop up in everyone's mind when they think about a certain person. We must realize that no matter what our personality is, no one in the whole world can truly understand our true feelings except yourself. We must cultivate these feelings with trepidation in our inner space where only the real us have access. Let the rest of the world see some kind of personality in you. Don't flirt with it. Don't believe it's you. A personality can be scolded, praised, hit or hurt. If you believe that the personality is you and not a set of patterns about you, everything that the personality experiences will threaten your heart, your peace of mind, your health, and your inner space. This will leave you exhausted and unhappy. The seventh principle of stalking does not mean that you become insincere in your interactions with others. Against, it teaches us that we must know our real selves and tremblingly come to our real selves in our personal inner intimate space in order to be alone with ourselves. This inner space contains the source of all our vital forces. The seventh principle teaches not to expose yourself to a blow that is intended for the personality. This is the most difficult principle. This is the master level. Castaneda's 7 magical little-known principles of stalking are simple, but at the same time the most effective rules that will allow everyone to throw off the victim mask and become a strategist in their own life. The 7 principles of stalking can be applied by anyone in any field. Their effectiveness has been tested by members of our research group. That is why we decided to tell you about them. For a happy life, a person needs a harmonious and clear philosophy. But in order to gain such a philosophy, a person must stop feeling like a victim of circumstances and accept responsibility for one's life and one's actions. Only then can everyone become a strategist in their own life. As strategists, we are able to bring out the best in us for the benefit of ourselves and all humanity.